using the English language tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin with our major stories this evening, viewers. An uneasy calm now reigns in Meanga, where circulation has also been paralyzed somehow in the Adamawa region of the country, following a protest demonstration of truck drivers on that corridor. The drivers are protesting against police brutality and numerous checkpoints, which according to them leads to corruption and extortion. We take you to Meanga and present to you the actual situation today in this news edition that will be with Mala Glory. And civil society actors continue to condemn the tragic demise of Anise Ekane in detention. One of his close aides, Jacob Chameni, says Anise Ekane confided in him that was when he was being transported to Yaoundé that he was never going to return alive from the nation's political capital if he was detained. That is the first outing of Jacob Chameni after the arrest and detention of those freedom fighters. Viewers, those are our lead stories. Stay with us for details and more in just a moment. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for always being with us. Thank you for the confidence. We now take you to Meanga to give you updates of what is happening there. The truck drivers have condemned the fact that their loaded trucks were pushed off the road without proper negotiations between them and the authorities. According to the drivers, about 40 trucks were destroyed alongside other goods on Saturday night in the process of removing them from the road or the highway, thus leading to heavy losses worth billions of francs CFA. Let's now get the actual situation of Meanga with Mala Glory.
Despite the tense atmosphere, vehicles can now circulate freely along the Meanga highway in the Adamawa region after 4 days blockade that paralyzed economic activities parts of the country. Inhabitants say business activities are still slow, except
ça passe hier à 18h. À 18h jusqu'à maintenant, ça passe bien. Non, c'est pas facile. Le travail, c'est pas encore facile.
Security forces decided on Saturday to clear the road, removing trucks that was blocking circulation for the past 4 days. In the process, about 40 trucks were destroyed, including some goods transported by the trucks. They endured heavy losses worth billions of francs of aid.
If there's 10 cars, 10 lorries carry 31 with 90,000, when you calculate it, and the car that they destroyed is more than we cannot even estimate because the loss is too much. With this one, we can even say we are in terms of economics, it's deficit.
Began with truck drivers and residents denouncing mistreatment by road gendarmes that widened into demands for the release of those detained after post-election unrest. A trade union denounced the action taken by the security using heavy machinery to push their loaded trucks off the road with negotiations. They, however, are determined to continue with this protest until their demands are approved.
And the tragic death of Anise Ekane, the freedom fighter, continues to make headline news across the country and also within. In an interview with the PRC TV, Minister Paul Atanganji said he advised Anise Ekane to retire from his wayward political life due to his poor health condition. But Anise Ekane reportedly ignored and continued resorting to his arrest, detention and death. According to Minister Paul Atanganji, such persons can neither be crowned heroes or martyrs, as many do. He insisted that sickness does not shield criminals from arrest and detention. Political actors qualify these statements by Minister Paul Atanganji and unscrupulous and shameful to the nation. Innocent Aze tells us more.
The recent statements of Minister Paul Atanganji against Anise Ekane, the late president of Manidem Party, during an interview on PRC TV were so freezing according to political actors who find it hard to digest, while they term the menace unscrupulous and unapologetic phrases.
It's abnormal that we get a minister's outing that is presented in an unapologetical manner that does not show any sign of remorse that the government had faltered in one way or the other. There are errors we can do, and to make it gentleman looking like is when we have the ability to acknowledge.
We should have feelings and emotions and empathy for people. When we are up there, we should know that people who are down there, they're suffering. Feel for them, comfort them, have human feelings, have conscience, humanity. That's governance.
In the interview, the Territorial Administration Minister said sickness, like in the case of Anisede Kane, is not a green light or an authorization to indulge in criminality and unlawful acts against the state.
Sickness is caused by circumstances beyond your control. Even Minat boss can be sick. Anybody healthy today can be sick tomorrow. But it doesn't mean that when you are sick, you have your thinking faculties, and you should not contribute your own political ideology to the well-being of the country. He has simply expressed himself. And I think that in the rule of law, there would have been procedures that would have been put in place to punish him or to bring him to book.
Intimidation doesn't pay. The minister should be subtle. The minister should be soft in his communication in times of crisis. You have to have unconditional positive regard, love for people.
In addition, the Mulinex man does not recognize Anisede Kane as a national hero, or Mataya, as many have been calling him.
We are all Cameroonians, so we should give this man the respect he deserves and give the respect to the dirt. He was a national hero, and he is. And history will always remember him as a national hero. Peace, work, fatherland. All of us were born in this fatherland. Nobody has this fatherland more than another person.
Somebody can be qualified a national hero, especially when the rights of that person has been blatantly violated by the powers that be.
These political actors expect the minister and other members of the Biya regime to build a good Cameroon for future leaders and not spoil it into chaos with a bad international reputation before their departure.
Tayong Elvis goes further to explain that the Biya regime has once more demonstrated its nonchalance somehow in the respect of human rights in the country. He regrets the actions of Minister Paul Atanganji only go a long way to tarnish the image of the country further. Let's listen to him in this excerpt.
You can give your political ideology, and if the political ideology is wrong, then you can be taken to court and you challenge the ideology. I don't think all of those aspects were met. So I think that the world has seen that there has been a blatant violation of the rights of President Anisede Kane, and it takes a gentleman-like approach on the part of the government and even our minister to acknowledge that wrong and then get those who were in charge of the wrong to book. If not, I think that we are heading towards doom. And sometimes in the kangaroo system, we'll get some of those utterances and presentations that will come the way they are to put shame on the face of Cameroon in the international community as a country without rule of law and a country that violates the rights of persons. It is a total disgrace. The outing was not that which could give Cameroon and Cameroonians in general that kind of grandeur or advice. Instead, it gave us a whole lot of shame that we feel it too bad to be expressing this on media.
Meantime, Dominique Chamani has spoken for the first time since he was arrested alongside late Anisede George Kane, the political leader, in his outing from his cell at the Newbell prison. Yerin Douala says the government of Cameroon is to blame for the death of his old-time friend Anisede Kane. Simanjikan Gabriel read through Dominique Chamani's letter, and process more in the report comes up next.
According to Dominique Chamani, the death of Anisede Kane wasn't a normal one. Dominique Chamani says even though the health condition of Anisede Kane wasn't the best, the president of Manidem could have still survived for several years before dying, since he was being followed up by a good medical team. For Dominique Chamani, the assassination of Anisede Kane began with his arrest on October 24, 2025, with faces masked on a rugged road from Douala to Yaoundé. Dominique Chamani says Anisede Kane was already in hell. For Dominique Chamani, immediately after the arrival in Yaoundé, Yaoundé, Anise Kane confided in him he wasn't going to be up again after the journey. The second act of his assassination was the confiscation of Anise Kane's oxygen extractor and equipment which was needed by Anise Kane permanently. Even the persistent demands made for the Gendarme Legion office in Douala to send the oxygen extractor fell on deaf ears. The equipment will only reach Anise Kane 35 days later, which according to Dominique Njokam Chamini, it was late. For him, Paul Biya never believed he would be beaten during the presidential elections. The death of Anise George Ekane has once again brought to the limelight the question of who is truly ruling the country, but it has also contributed to the fight for a new Cameroon. Dominique Njokam Chamini and Anise Kane were both arrested on October 24th, taken to CERT, and it was only the death of Anise Kane that separated both. The two will be remembered for the role they played in the ghost towns of 1990s. They both allied to support Issa Chiruma Bakari under the Movement for Change canopy in the last presidential elections.
Now we talk something else. Like many other African nations, Cameroon is still striving to achieve digital sovereignty. Much of the data produced locally is stored outside the African continent, despite the existence of the CM local domain name. This raises concerns about the safety of personal, company, and state data. Efforts are thus being made by the National Agency for Information and Communication Technologies and other stakeholders to reverse this trend. Babila Jonathan reports.
Digital experts say the battle of the 21st century will not be fought in oil fields, but in the cloud of servers. For Cameroon and Africa, the issue is no longer access to technology, but who controls the data, stores it, and transforms it into economic power.
The report by the National Institute of Statistics revealed that about 80% of the data of African countries is hosted outside of our boundaries. If 80% of data is hosted outside of our boundaries, it means that we need data to make informed decisions. We need data to make informed decisions, and 80% of the data is hosted outside of the African continent. It means that decisions cannot be informed because others control our data. In terms of data protection, we cannot really protect our data effectively and efficiently because 80% of our data resides outside of our boundaries.
The National Agency for Information and Communication Technologies, ANTIC, is enhancing efforts to strengthen the country's control over its digital space. It is the essence of the 5th edition of the National Forum on the Domain Name System, DNS, taking place in Douala.
We successfully deployed DNS on the 5th of April 2025. And ever since this happened, this is the first time we're bringing you together to share this good news with you and tell you what you need to do to validate DNS at your levels, at the level of operators and all those who have to operate the servers.
The DNS is a critical infrastructure on the internet. Every transaction that you do online, you somehow use the DNS. When you type, let's say, google.cm or antique.cm to get to a website, that name needs to be translated to an IP address. And the protocol in charge of that translation is called the DNS, Domain Name System.
Considering the low rate of usage of the national domain name .cm, these experts are brainstorming on strategies to build trust in the brand.
People are not aware of the importance of having local domain names. This forum is to, first of all, sensitize people, tell them what is DNSSEC and how it is used to secure your online transactions.
The African continent has barely 230 data centers for 1.4 billion inhabitants compared to nearly 2,000 according to a report by the African Data Centers Association. Cameroon, which aims to become an emerging digital economy by 2035, currently has only a limited number of critical infrastructures concentrated in Douala and Yaoundé. The scarcity slows the digitalization of public administration, limits the competitiveness of local businesses, and undermines national data sovereignty.
And now in news out of Cameroon, the Republic of Benin is grappling with institutional instability following a failed coup attempt against the government that was over the weekend, and South Africa is asserting its global influence by assuming the G20 presidency. A roundup of our foreign page with Law Mayero.
In recent days, Benin faced a significant political crisis when a group of soldiers calling themselves the Military Committee for Refoundation attempted a coup by seizing state television and announcing the removal of President Patrice Talon. The plot was quickly foiled by the loyalist forces, and regional intervention was swift when the Economic Committee of African States and Nigeria deploying air supports and standby forces to secure constitutional order. While the government maintains that the situation is now under control, the event has heightened tensions ahead of the presidential election scheduled for April 2025. In South Africa, the nation is navigating a major diplomatic and economic shift as it officially assumes the G20 presidency for the first time. President Cyril Ramaphosa is positioning the country as a champion for the global south, focusing on the themes of inclusive growth and food security. Simultaneously, the domestic landscape is focused on the African National Congress, National General Council, and continued investigation into the municipal corruption alongside public health concern regarding the strict new regulation for Spanza shop following the incident of foodborne illnesses. Meanwhile, Sudan remains trapped in what international agencies describe as one of the world's most severe humanitarian catastrophes. The ongoing conflict between Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces has caused mass displacement, with over 11 million people internally displaced and famine confirmed in multiple regions, including Darfur. Violent clashes and drone strikes persist, complicating the delivery of life-saving aids to the millions of people facing acute food insecurity.
And now let's talk business. The University of Meanga and Afriland First Bank have signed a partnership agreement that unlocks the future of students. At the signing ceremony in Bambili in the Northwest region, the representative of Afriland First Bank promised to keep to the terms of the agreement while ensuring that students will benefit from the said partnership. Sumanti Gabriel with details.
The University of Bamenda has sealed a groundbreaking partnership with the leading bank in Cameroon, Afriland First Bank. The agreement has been strategically designed to directly empower students, creating a pipeline from academic to successful careers.
Now, this MOU falls in line with that idea, that of being close to the population, that of being close to the students. And the University of Bamenda being one of the leading universities in our country, we cannot be without partnering with them. And what does Afriland bring for them? With our branches, with our experience, with our expertise, just like the VC said, we will be able to take in those interns and train them so that when they come out of the university, they are ready for the job market.
The ceremony heralds a future of tangible benefits for the student's body. A cornerstone for the collaboration is the creation of exclusive internship and graduate trainee programs at Afriland First Bank, offering the University of Bamenda students a critical start in the competitive job market.
This gives room for our students to be able to go to these other non-academic business institutions and do their internships and then have some hands-on experience so that when they go out there, they're already skilled to be able to tackle jobs in their various disciplines.
The alliance will also focus on practical skill development. A series of financial literacy and entrepreneurship workshops will be rolled out, equipping students with essential knowledge in personal finance, investment, and business startup strategies.
We are also having innovative digital solutions like Sarah Money, like eFirst, which permits the community, the university community, to be able to do their operations digital and free. Afriland First Bank is a true partner, and true to that, we are sure that this path of success which we are getting into with the University of Bamenda will only see us have a win-win relationship.
To fuel innovation, Afriland First Bank has committed in providing seed funding and mentorship of promising students-led projects and business ideas. According to the Vice Chancellor of the University of Bamenda, the agreement between them and Afriland First Bank falls in line with laws guiding higher education.
What we are simply doing is implementing the new law on higher education that emphasizes on the students graduating with skills so that they can already be absorbed properly into the job market.
Created in 1997, Afriland First Bank has over 1,700 billion francs CFA deposits and has over 92 branches spread across the country, with 2 branches operational in Quen and Commercial Avenue. Meanwhile, a 3rd branch will see the light of day soon at Up Station in Bamenda.
Thanks, Matt. That does it for the first part of the news, viewers. Let's move on to talking points. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Song Derrick. He is an economist. Thank you, Mr. Song Derrick, for accepting to be our guest on the news. Now, circulation is still paralyzed somehow along the Gaundere Meanga stretch after truck drivers protested against police brutality and numerous checkpoints along that road, that highway. Do you think those are reasons enough for those truck drivers to ground activities between the Grand North and the Grand South? And also, we might want to know from you, Mr. Song Derrick, the angry truck drivers we know subsequently blocked the road that was over the weekend with their trucks which were loaded with goods and livestock. And now government authorities came overnight with bulldozers and took off the trucks from the road, destroying some livestock and also some of their goods. Tell us, Song Derrick, you're an economist, is that the appropriate solution? Where is a place of dialogue in such situations?
In as much as we believe that the blocking of the roads is paralyzing the activities of other individuals who cannot use the road, but we equally understand that the force used by the government, force can clear the roads but cannot clear the heart, and the force that is used by the government will solve a temporal problem, but we know that the drivers have a deeper issue that needs to be handled. At a time when, during the inaugural speech of the president, he spoke of dialogue, I wonder why drivers, camion drivers who have legitimate claims, we cannot rubbish the demands of the drivers because they have a reason and the reasons are legitimate. It is normal that when the people get angry, they can protest. It's right for them to protest in the peaceful way possible. But if the government officials, be whosoever, can react, and the only way to react is by bulldozing livelihoods, bulldozing the source of income of people, pushing the cars into abbeys, then we are asking, we are telling them that they are solving a temporary problem, but they are creating a deeper problem. Cameroon government should have copied notes from other crises to know that every time we have a problem, there are signs and symptoms and there is the problem. The roadblock is not a problem. That was not the problem. The roadblock is as a result of a problem. And if the government loved the people, they should have called the syndicates for negotiation. Dialogue is very important because after clearing and destroying the cars of individuals. And sad enough, you know that those people went to destroy those cars. A single car there can pay their salaries for their life, for a lifetime. But they had to push them. It's so sad and it's so painful. We're calling on authorities to always put dialogue at the center, because dialogue, round tables, solve problems better than round bullets.
So, Derrick, there is also this issue. The angry drivers alleged there exist over 90 checkpoints from Douala to Meanga, and they spend hundreds of thousands on every trip. And sometimes the controllers are careless if your documents are regular or not. You must chip in something. Where does the money go to on a daily? Have we consciously or unconsciously openly normalized corruption, Mr. Derrick?
90 checkpoints in one corridor of roads. That's no longer control. That is a system feeding on itself. That is a system trying to survive from the people. You know, we understand that these control points, like you rightly said, that the drivers are called upon to chip in something. That's not my worry. My worry is, where does the money go to? When you give something, you're not giving a receipt. At the end of the day, this money is not deposited into state account. This money goes to private pockets, meaning that thousands of cars ply that road every day. Every uniform official on that road goes back home with a huge and heavy pocket. But remember, that money is not directed to roads. The money is not directed to building of schools. The money is not directed to development. It is directed to private and individual pockets. And if Cameroonians can be suffering from such leakages, where money circulates without accountability, which is one problem that Cameroon faces, the problem of accountability and transparency. If this happens and the drivers and the people are suffocating under this system, it is but normal for them to react. Remember, we have the right to see and to express our feeling once it is not going the right way. So then, why should there be up to 90 checkpoints in one corridor of the road? That is too heavy. And we may be talking like it's a joke. Let's come back. From Douala to Boya, from Douala to Kumba, you can count how many checkpoints are there, and you can count a distance where people used to pay 800 francs, 1,000 francs. It has increased to 2,500, and most often the drivers will tell you that, do you know how many checkpoints we have on the road? And it is not about your books being okay. It is about the fact that you have to settle. And you settle the man who is there and not the state of the country. It is sad and it is normal for them to decry, because when things get out of hand, the citizens have just one thing: to protest and deny it.
Now, before we go, Mr. Derrick, what can be some of the economic effects of such a strike action on the general economy of the country? Can there be some spillover effects as well?
The question is not, can there be spillover effect? It's normal. Economically, there will and there should be spillover effect. Remember, when the roads in a country stop moving or stop working, the economy holds its breath. We witnessed that during a brief lockdown, where a kilogram of meat was sold in Douala for 7,000. People paid that. We witnessed that where tomatoes were sold for up to 17,000 francs. So this is going to have a lot of boomerang effect. As we are going to see, it is affecting basic commodity, what Cameroonians live daily with or for. And because of this, you're going to have inflation. There's going to be inflation caused by the fact that there is shortage in the market, and there's going to be scarcity, because if the roads do not circulate, cities start getting hungry. Remember, the direction we are coming from is a farmland that supplies to the cities. So the effect is going to be enormous, given that we are in a festive period and we are coming from a post-electoral period that has grounded the economy to an extent. So we must say that if the drivers, their grievances are not handled the way it's supposed to be and the right way, because they have their right to express their grievances, then we're going to have a boomerang effect, and we're going to have an effect, because after this, the cars have been thrown into valleys. The question is no longer will they work again, because the cars are not even there to work. And if the cars are not there to work, foodstuff, basic necessities will not leave the region into the cities, and you're going to see that Cameroonians are going to be suffering massively. Sad enough, it's going to affect but the poor man, it's going to affect but the local consumer, and the price hikes will be pushed to the local man like you and I, because those who sit in air-conditioned offices, they have their allowances and they are sponsored. They don't really care whether the poor man survives or dies.
Thank you, Son Derrick, for your availability, and hope you stop by some other time. And viewers, that was what we put together for you on this edition of the news in the English language tonight. Thank you so much for always being with us. Stay with us as our programs continue tonight. Equinoxe with Search Allen comes up in about 30 minutes, and the news in the French language will be yours at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television and enjoy the rest of your week in the company of our programs. Bye-bye for now.